Welcome to the nonprofitready.org course on preparing for a performance review as a nonprofit manager. There are three main learning objectives for this course. First, we will identify what kinds of documentation you should review to help you in your performance review preparation efforts. Knowing what your direct report achieved against their goals and objectives will be very important for you to think about as well. Finally, we will review some strategies for time management to ensure you get everything done before the review due date. Many organizations are used to thinking of performance reviews as a backward-looking assessment program owned by the Human Resources Department. Well, this is no longer the case. Performance reviews are being reinvented for a new, forward-looking purpose to serve as an efficient and focused business process that improves employee engagement, ensure employee development, and drives results for your nonprofit. The shift has moved to helping managers coach people to succeed. A well-functioning performance review should encourage good managers who are coaches and mentors. Here are some interesting facts that relate specifically to the first two learning objectives of this course, documentation and goals. The primary differentiator of employees leaving their organization isn't job-related, it's relationship-related. Performance reviews help drive conversation and expectations between managers and employees by providing less opportunity for miscommunication and/or misaligned expectations. Setting individual goals with your direct report and having regular discussions about these goals will ensure expectations are set, understood, and clear. As a manager, it's your responsibility to be an advocate for your direct report to ensure they succeed at their individual goals. As you're preparing to evaluate your direct report, think about how you've set expectations and think about the role you've played to ensure they successfully deliver on their goals. Next, instead of having to look far and wide when fact gathering for a review, if you're regularly documenting your direct report's performance, regardless if it's good or requires some improvement, by you providing verbal feedback to your direct report on a weekly basis, you will help save time when review season starts. And it will also help to foster a stronger employee engagement environment. Most importantly, not only does providing regular feedback enable employee engagement, it also lowers employees wanting to leave your organization by up to 15%. Hopefully, these help to illustrate the value in collecting and providing feedback to your direct report on a regular basis. This stems from ensuring you are properly prepared for performance review time. More specifically, if you're taking the appropriate steps to documenting performance and regularly reviewing goals with your direct report, you will indirectly increase their retention and engagement, and your employees will produce better results while also helping to drive a strong culture. Now we'll identify the items that you want to take a look at to ensure you effectively and thoroughly prepare for the performance review. To keep yourself organized, create a folder on your computer or compile a folder of hard copies so you can collectively pull everything together and store it in one place. When managers are preparing for an upcoming round of performance reviews, they often find themselves fact-finding in order to direct or sometimes support their performance feedback. This fact-finding typically requires managers to look for relevant support documentation. As documentation can take many shapes, let's discuss some of the most common forms of documentation for you to leverage. First, you want to take a look at your direct report's previous performance reviews. It's important to baseline the expectations set forth, so the first place you should look is for the most recent performance review. This will help you determine if their performance has improved, remained the same, or declined in the current review period. Next, look at your direct report's current job description for a baseline of what the organization should expect from the incumbent in that role. Ask yourself, how do they perform against the items in the job description? Identify if the work that they have done over the last number of months has been consistent with the tasks and responsibilities identified on the job description, or identify if the responsibilities have changed, and if so, how. You want to make sure you're aligned with what your direct report should be doing on a day-to-day basis. Lastly, over the course of the year, you should be taking notes or have the ability to reference back to emails, which will provide specific examples of your direct report's performance. This makes fact-finding significantly easier. Think of this as your historical ledger that you should update often, so when performance review time rolls around, you have an ample amount of examples to add to the performance review. Aside from documentation, you can also fact-find by assessing progress against previously identified goals or objectives. When you take a look at your organization's goals, think about how your direct report's performance has impacted the organization. Ask yourself this: how did your direct report impact progress against the organization-wide goals? And if applicable, is there data that can illustrate their performance? You also want to take a look at your direct report's individual goals and ask yourself the following questions. Did your direct report have their own performance or developmental goals that they were responsible for executing? If so, make sure to document, quantify, and measure their achievement towards those goals. Also, were there additional achievements or areas of improvement that should be identified as well? To some degree, performance reviews will always be subjective, but as a manager, you should always provide supporting documentation and data to validate progress against goals. Let's finish up by talking about time management. Fact-finding and drafting reviews will take time, so it's important that you allocate the right amount of hours needed to complete this task. The amount of time that will be needed will depend on a few factors. How many employees do you have? How detailed is your organization's performance review form? And when is your manager review due for all of your direct reports? A great place to begin managing your time effectively is to work backwards from the deadline you have to submit the completed reviews. Next, complete the fact-finding and review drafting for only one employee. Track the amount of time that you spent doing that. You can then multiply the amount of time spent on one review by the number of direct reports you have. Remember, most organizations have a self-review process, so you will need to allocate time to complete your own self-review. You also want to start scheduling time with each employee. You need to make sure you have a draft of their review ready before this meeting. Make sure to recognize barriers to scheduling, such as time off, holidays, and competing deadlines, so that you have a realistic window of time during which you can schedule meetings. It's always a best practice to ensure you block additional time on your calendar for contingent rescheduling, especially if you're working with tight completion timelines. On behalf of NonprofitReady.org, I would like to thank you for participating in this course. To learn more about this course and similar courses, please access the curriculum within your transcript. In addition, please feel free to access the learning community to collaborate and learn from other nonprofit managers.